you know, when I moved here in '59, this was a retail hub for the area. I mean, people came here from, you know, Price's Corner, Dalton, Rising Sun, Middletown to do their shopping, because we had a department store. We had, you know, clothing stores for men, clothing stores for women, shoe stores, and everything that, you know, most towns had in those days. And by the early '70s, it was obvious that the dynamics were going to change because of the Christiana Mall on the horizon. And once the Christiana Mall opened up and really basically sucked the retail life out of the city of Newark, we ended up having to redevelop ourselves.
By the early to mid 1980s, the city leaders, the mayor, members of council, the planning commissioners, and of course the planning department staff and our city manager recognized that if we were going to continue to compete economically, we had to revive our downtown. We recognized that if we had more students living downtown, they would provide a ready market for businesses that would return to downtown. And in addition, they provide the income for people who wanted to redevelop downtown. In other words, mixed use. And it was definitely an aha moment where we decided, you know, this is the simplest and most effective way we could see to exploit the things that already were here in Newark. University of Delaware student population, a student population that was raising concerns and issues in off-campus housing in places we prefer they not be. So that's sort of part A. And part B was, you know, well, this can also help our downtown. And we've pretty much done that ever since.
Well, at the same time that the city had the epiphany that mixed use is a good thing for downtown, the city also was reaching out to organize businesses we had heard about the National Main Street Center program, and so it was like late 80s, very early 90s maybe, and we're getting businesses together, and they created a business association. At the same time that the state had started a Main Street program as well. So the city applied to become a part of the Main Street program. The Downtown Newark Business Association commissioned a study for economic restructuring. And we brought in the firm of Hyatt Palma in 1997. And they did an overall assessment of our community, brought in all the stakeholders, talked to everyone that they could talk to about how to make downtown a better place. And what they did, as many consultants will do, they said, you should create an umbrella organization that's going to bring all the stakeholders together and are going to speak in one voice for downtown. That's really what you need to do. And then they went away and didn't really tell us how to do it. So we sat down and started working with the university and the business community, and eventually created the Downtown Newark Partnership. And that brought all the stakeholders together. It's modeled on the National Main Street Center approach in that we have committees that deal with design and economic restructuring and events, and we added parking and organization. And we work together. And I think that's the main thing about it, is that it brings all the stakeholders together on a regular basis to talk about downtown. And because the university and the city and the business community and the residential community are all equal partners, you're bringing together not only stakeholders, but you're bringing the people with the resources necessary to actually not just talk about downtown, but to continue to move it forward.
As the partnership developed, there were different committees that were formed to handle the different affairs of the partnership. The Design Review Committee was responsible for bringing together standards that worked in our downtown and that would enhance the future development of downtown and facade improvements and all of the things that were designed to make our downtown a better city. The whole thing we're trying to create in the downtown environment is something that's inviting to the public. We want to bring people in. We want people to come to Newark as a destination to enjoy the amenities, and the streetscape is one of the very first things that you see that you walk the street, you look at the buildings, and that's, if you feel comfortable and you like what you see, you're going to come again.
Realistically, what Newark's doing and has continued to do is become very user-friendly, and they become understanding of the development process. So they tend to work with you throughout the process versus some municipalities fight you throughout the process. So the majority of people at the City of Newark, they're very, they work with you on the front end. They bring you through the process so that you end up with a product that they want and can get approved, rather than going through the whole process and getting turned down, because that just takes up time, and your time and your money, and then that discourages other people to do it. Because the minute you go to a municipality where if 3 people got turned down, you go, this takes too much money and too much time to get through here, so why do it?
From the beginning of the zoning code, we had suburban type requirements for parking downtown. And in the mid to late 80s, through the planning director, we decided to look at revising that, and we came up with the parking waiver program. And once we did that, because to meet those in such a confined area, to meet those parking requirements was nearly impossible. So a lot of the development that you see, or most of it, would not have happened unless the parking waiver program was established. At the same time that the partnership was established, though, and the city took over parking, we were the entity with the wherewithal to continue to make improvements to the parking system, and we've done that. We've increased the number of parking spaces by at least 50%. We have plans to build structures, and we have made significant improvements in service and quality and aesthetic value of our parking, and much of that was funded by funds that were donated by developers into the parking waiver fund. In order to waive the parking requirement, they pay into a fund that's used for parking improvements. But it's been the most valuable tool that I can think of in downtown revitalization, because we were able to continue developing in areas where we would not if they had to meet the parking requirements at the time.
The parking waiver plan allowed urban development because the City of Newark has a suburban zoning code. So the zoning code in the City of Newark, the technical zoning code, is the same as it is in Newcastle County that you would have for a shopping center. So you build a shopping center in Newcastle County, you need 5 parking spaces per 1,000 square feet of retail, and you need 2 parking spaces for every apartment. So that's the same zoning code the City of Newark has. Well, the City of Newark is an urban environment. Who should create parking to support all the community? So the question is, in Newark, you only have so many pieces of property. So do you want me to be enticed to go build parking garages, or you want me to go build the things that create opportunities for people? Parking garages don't create any long-term economic opportunity for anybody other than me, who I park cars in it. You want people to actually park their car someplace remotely, walk through your downtown area, go to business, walk back to your car. It creates more economic use of your downtown area. Gets people out of their cars, gets people out of their building. What you really want people to do is to, like urban environments, like City of Newark is you want people to park a little bit remotely so they actually think about buying something on their way to their car, a cup of coffee. On their way home, they stop and eat, or they go to the grocery store, whatever they're going to do to get back to where they live. So it actually promotes more economic, development, economic reuse, and economic opportunities for people.
I think every town can do this. You don't necessarily have to be a university town or have those, those connections. I would urge with the internet, you can look at codes all over the world. You can look at codes in many cities, in which we do, and I know that the Planning and Development Office often looks at other codes. Look at other city codes. The National Main Street Association is a great resource if you want to get started with design guidelines.
It's important to identify your assets. Newark is is Delaware's college town, and we're very proud to be that, but that's not the only thing about our community that makes it appealing or that we can market. Every community has something that they can market, so identifying what your assets are and how you're going to go about capitalizing on them is probably the most important.
As part of the process of redevelopment and reinvigorating downtowns, many communities, in fact all communities, tend to go through a visioning process. And one of the things that we've learned sometimes through some experiences that didn't quite work out is visioning is not a wish list. It's not coming together with a laundry list of all the things you can't do in your downtown that you'd like to do. Visioning, in our view, is taking what you have and looking at your assets and coming up with a vision to make those assets as appealing as possible, both to the residents you have here and to the wider community.
Main Street is your unique, interesting retailer that that you can't get at the mall. That's what's our hook. And that's the retailer that's going to make it there. It's no longer going to be where you shop for groceries. It's going to be gourmet dining instead. That if you can get it at the mall, why go to Main Street, right? I mean, you go there for the experience and you want something different.